Hey, and welcome to AUDIOTEK's 6th tutorial on Cubase 6.5. In this one, we'll be looking at coloring in Cubase. Of course, you can color your clips and your tracks, but you can also color the meters or the general Cubase appearance. You can even change the lightness of the waveforms within a clip. We'll go into detail on all this in this tutorial. While coloring won't have any impact on your sound in any way, it is a great way of getting into the habit of coloring your tracks to organize your projects. Many people always color the same instruments the same way, so when they browse their tracks, they can easily identify, let's say the drums, when they see a group of tracks or clips colored in a specific way. You can also color specific clips differently than the track color. And this can be useful for outlining a special clip. Imagine the times you might think, I need to go back and edit this clip later, so I'll just write down the clip name and the clip position on a piece of paper. Well, wouldn't it be easier if it was instead highlighted by a different color, so it was much easier to recognize? There's a lot of ways to go about coloring in Cubase, and let's start with the general Cubase appearance. And by this I mean the layout of the program. The standard layout is sort of a light gray color with a blue tint, which is a very nice and neutral starting point. But let's take a look on how you can adjust it. Go to the File menu and hit for Preferences. Check out the very first entry, General, under Appearance, and click it. Now you see some sliders that will adjust the saturation, lightness, and hue of your Cubase meters and dialogues. Above the sliders, you'll see a visualization of the layout that will update as you drag the sliders. So let me show you how much control you have. I'm now going to raise the saturation or the color intensity slider. Check out the slightly bluish tone. Then by adjusting the lightness, check out how I can make the color more or less blue. By dragging it up, the meters become light blue. And then by dragging it to the bottom, I get a very nice dark layout. So let me now raise the intensity and the lightness slider to the full value. Now check out with the tone or hue slider how I can change the color. And I can change it to whatever I want. Down below those top three sliders, there's the button brightness and fader cap color intensity. If I raise the button brightness slider, I get a greater contrast between the channel strip color and the buttons. Now if I drag the slider to the bottom, they almost blend in completely. The fader cap color intensity slider lets me add in the specified track color in the fader caps. So check out how the color changes as I drag the slider up. I think the color experience of Cubase really have an impact on your mood when creating music. So find out what color suits your workflow the best. But remember, the stock installation is gray for a reason. There's a lot of beautiful colors in Cubase, so if you oversaturate your look, it might even hurt your eyes. Alright, let's head on to the meters appearance. Look for meters under appearance this time and click it. Now this is much more than just changing the look of your meters. This might even help you with setting your dB values. And let me take you through it. First off, the meters consist of two colors. You can adjust both of them from here. Take a look on the meter on the left. To the right of it, you'll see two squares with a triangle on the left. Those indicate the two threshold points for the transition between the two colors. If you click on either one of the squares, take a look on the circle to the right, with a smaller circle within it. Notice how the color changes for each of the buttons. And this means you can adjust the two colors separate from each other. And let's start with the lower. If you click and drag on this smaller circle, you can adjust the hue of the lower meter color. The slider to the right lets you adjust the lightness of the lower meter color. And I'm now going to go ahead and do the same for the upper button. As I mentioned, there is more to this panel. You can actually click and drag on any of the squares to bring them closer together or further from each other. And those will let you adjust the transition threshold between the two colors. The upper color gets stronger as meter volume increases. So if I know that I generally mix too loud, I can bring those two buttons closer together, like choosing the top button and taking it to -12, and then taking the lower button and taking it to -24. In that case, by -12, the upper color would have reached its maximum strength, and it will help me set my levels so that they wouldn't go too much above -12 dBFS. And you can even add more color points to the meters for sophisticated meter coloring. Alt-click anywhere along the two squares to create new points you can then edit as you'd like. You can also use Tab on your keyboard for switching between them. Okay, let's now go on to the Work Area tab under the Appearance category. I already showed you this one in the previous tutorial, but we didn't yet look on the Work Area Brightness or the Cycle Intensity. The Work Area Brightness really makes a huge impact, and basically it will adjust the overall lightness of your project window. Let's try taking the slider down and applying the changes. Look how cool and dark our layout has become. Imagine combining this with the darker general meter appearance for a nice dark layout. The cycle intensity requires a demonstration. I'm now going to select a cycle in the timeline. I know I haven't yet spoken about this. I'm going to be explaining you about this in a tutorial on playback mechanics. Anyway, I'm selecting a cycle and then heading back into the preferences. Check out how the cycle can be more or less highlighted with the cycle intensity slider. Okay, let's go for the event display category. You can simply click on the category name. Here you can increase or decrease the intensity of the grid overlay going through an audio clip. And then on to the real cool stuff. Click on Audio just below the event display category. Here you can adjust the waveform brightness to make your waveform less or more bright within a clip. You can also intensify the outline going across all edges of the waveform to make the boundaries more visible. And then one last thing you can do here is to check the background color modulation. I think it's a bit too early in this series to go into too much detail with it. But basically it shades the background of the clip behind the waveform in a gradient, where the strong peaks are shaded as very dark while lighter peaks are brighter. So if your track height was very small, it would help you seeing how intense your peaks are. But let's stay on topic. I'm gonna go back into preferences and untick it for now. We'll open the preferences again later, but for now let's hit apply and OK. Okay, the more common uses of colors in Cubase is for coloring tracks and clips. By default, Cubase will start off with a light blue track color, and then for each track you create, it will slightly increase the hue value in a loop. So with your attention focused on the track color indicated by the box in the left side of a track, look how the color changes for each new added track. The clip color will also by default follow the color of the track. So if I press record now, you'll see how the color of the clip corresponds to the track color. Now if I then drag the clip to the track below it, the color changes along with the track. It's easy to change the way Cubase colors your tracks in the preferences, but for now let's get a grasp of how you can change the colors. So I can change the color of a track in 3 ways. One way is to click the little triangle to the right of the track name in the inspector, or the panel I call the vertical channel strip layout. When you click it, a palette of colors appears. The default color, the first one, is gray, but you can pick between any of 16 colors. Try picking one and see how both the track and the clip on it changes color. Another way is to hold Ctrl down while clicking on the colored box on the left side of the track. And this too gives you the color palette with the 16 colors. This control shortcut can also be used from the mixer. So let's try opening the mixer now. The shortcut is F3. By clicking on the track name at the far bottom, notice how I get the same palette. Now let's head back to the project window. And now the final way of changing colors is using the color selector, which is a tool on top. This is how it looks. Click it and select the color, and it will then change the color of the track that is highlighted, or the clip you have selected, to another one. And this is the most flexible tool, as it is the only one that allows you to change the color of a separate clip to another one than the track color. And what's cool about it is, this one will not change when you drag it to a new track. So let's first try switching the color of the highlighted track using the color selector. See how both the clip and the track changed color. Now, let's try changing the color of this clip. I'm gonna go ahead and simply click on the clip, open the color selector, and change it to a new color. Now I have two separate colors going. Very cool. Here on the color selector, you can also click on Select Colors. And now you can use RGB values or the color wheel to decide for specific colors you want. You can also raise the intensity of all colors and much more. You can even save or load color presets. And you can also choose how Cubase goes about coloring your tracks by default. For this, let's open the preferences again. Go to File and click Preferences. Now let's head to the Editing category and click on Project and Mixer. Here there's a roll down bar to the left of Audio Track Color Mode. This will decide how new tracks are colored. And as I showed you before, Cubase currently adjusts the hue slightly for each newly created track. So if you click the roll down bar, you can also choose between using the same track color as the previous one, using a random color, using the last used color for new tracks, and also to use the default event or audio clip color. So that's it, let's finally hit OK and go back. Another smart color feature is this one. If you right-click on a track and select Use Color for similar tracks, all tracks of that type will get the same track color. You can also select more than one track. Then right-click and select Use Color for similar selected tracks, in order to color all selected tracks with the color of the top selected one. Now, if I were in your position right now, I'd be thinking, I'm never ever going to use this, so let's move on. But imagine a project with 128 tracks with 5 times the amounts of clips, groups, folders, FX tracks, VST instruments channels. Even if you have been very cleverly naming and organizing your tracks in folders, which we'll be looking at very soon, it might still be confusing. Probably coloring your tracks and clips can really be the savior in such cases. So remember that, and let's move on to the next tutorial. I'll see you there.